The climate crisis issue, is it a myth or is it true? Is it about saving the earth or, in reality, about making vast sums of money and wealth for the few? No one should be making any money when there are no problems to fix. But the reality is, trying to influence climate change is a futile but profitable endeavor. Climate behavior is beyond the control of mankind. Trying to fix an imaginary problem that only a few actually understand is not a problem, it's a financial opportunity to exploit the ignorance of the many for the benefit of the few. No one makes money from things that are not broken. As you can see, there are billions to be made trying to fix the climate crisis. Everyone is going to be rich that's trying to fix this imaginary problem. This chart showing the relationships and behaviors of carbon dioxide and temperature over time will be used to show there is no relationship between the two. The vast majority of people on the earth do not understand that they know nothing about the science of climate change. They do not know that they do not understand, so they listen to the opinions of others. If we personally do not understand something, then we have a tendency to listen to the majority view. We assume incorrectly that they took the time to understand, and we can profit by their knowledge. Why is this a problem? Well, we shall see that shortly. Since we have a tendency to believe that the vast majority are always right, we have the tendency to follow the opinion of the many. This is an example of herd behavior, and we're going to see why this is such a dangerous process.
Herding behavior, and we can define it as people doing what others do instead of using their own information to make decisions. This happens often. We see a large number of people acting in the same way, and we think there's no way that they could all be wrong. They must know something that we don't. We start to base our decisions off of the assumption that everyone else has done their research or knows something that we don't know. But that's not always the case. Consider the following example offered by Robert Shiller, an economist at Yale. Suppose two restaurants open next door to each other, Restaurant A and Restaurant B. The very first customer sees two empty restaurants and must choose which one to eat at based only on their appearance. Let's say she chooses Restaurant A. The second customer sees one person eating at Restaurant A and an empty Restaurant B. She makes her choice based on two things. First, the appearance of each restaurant. That's her own information. And secondly, the fact that the first customer chose Restaurant A. That's external information. If the second customer chooses to go to Restaurant A, then the third customer will see two people eating at Restaurant A and an empty Restaurant B. I think you see where this is going. As people continue to join the crowd, they prompt others to do the same. Eventually, each customer might end up at Restaurant A, which could actually be the poorer restaurant. What's happened is people have ignored their own information, and that creates a distorted signal chain. we think that everyone has made an informed decision, and that decision appears to have value. But in reality, everyone has based their decisions on the decisions made by others. And because of this, our decision contains no real valuable information. These chains of behavior are sometimes called informational cascades, and they help.
Before World War II, the scientific community were driven by the quest for new scientific truth. However, after the creation of what has been termed the military-industrial complex created during World War II, where the government finances everything, science began to follow the purchase order because they knew the big money was there. They were able to get unlimited funding from a government to solve a problem that exists in the mind, but not in reality. An opportunity to make vast wealth.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals. So that security...
In order to take advantage of this new potential source of funding for science, people perpetrated the big lie that mankind was destroying the earth and we needed to spend money in order to fix it. The lie about man's impact on the climate is false, but it will make very many people wealthy. Although the scientific data clearly shows that man has no impact on the climate, others will choose to interpret the information differently for their own ends.
And I tell you that we must evacuate this planet immediately.
It isn't that we question, Your Honor. The facts are undeniable. It's your conclusions we find unsupportable.
Real scientific scrutiny clearly shows that mankind is not influencing any climate change. The problem is, this truth doesn't make wealth, and therefore we will interpret it in another way. The opportunists are scaring us in order to make the few wealthy at the expense of the many. That's us. This is not a question of science. It's a question of economic greed. For those that want to know the truth and understand it for themselves, we will present the few real data that are required to prove that mankind is not causing any problems with respect to climate change. The blue line is the temperature over 570 million years. The purple line is the behavior of carbon dioxide over the very same period. Looking at these data, how do you think that carbon dioxide and temperature are related? Do they follow one another, or do they seem to be independent? So looking at the curves within the circle, you can see the temperature dropping rapidly, but yet the carbon dioxide level is going up. How could this be so if carbon dioxide was driving the temperature on the Earth? Not possible. As we will see, it is not changes in the carbon dioxide level, but the interaction of complicated and complex variables that you see here, and how they interact with one another over time. And these are variables that are not under the control of mankind. But here are some of the external causes of climate variation. A brilliant scientist, Milutin Milinkovic, has shown that when not masked by other variables that you saw in the previous chart, that the climatic changes on the Earth have and are impacted by some astronomical events, such as the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, which varies every 100,000 years, the precessional cycle around the Earth's center, and the obliquity angle cycle. These are the factors that show and generate the Earth's climate change. Although mild in its effect, the greenhouse gas effect is predominantly controlled by the amount of water vapor in the atmosphere. And that contributes to 95% of the greenhouse gas effect. Carbon dioxide, on the other hand, only contributes 0.12% of the greenhouse gas effect. Those are pennies. They cost nothing. They impact nothing. They have no correlation or causation with mankind's carbon dioxide generation and climatic variation. There is no relationship. This chart or picture shows the various contributors to the greenhouse gas effect. And as you can see, water, which is the green, is the predominant one. As you can clearly see, that water vapor represents 95% of the greenhouse gas effect, and carbon dioxide is only 3.6%. And of that, only 0.12% is due to mankind. The other 3.48% is due to the natural decay of vegetation. Here is the geological explanation of the part of the temperature profile that you see here within the Mesozoic period. That's the period when the great asteroid hit and we had the extinction of the dinosaurs. That's when the temperature dropped rapidly because of the cloud coverage. And also, because of all that, the carbon dioxide level rose. The variations you see at the bottom right, where the temperature goes up and down and the carbon dioxide remains the same, that's basically a result of the Milankovitch cycles, which have to do with the eccentricity, the orbit, and the inclination of the Earth. Even the variations within the last 10,000 years, as you can see, the warm spells and the cold spells are irregular. The climate is irregular. This clearly shows that animals, birds, and fishes like it to be warm. Warm oceans are appreciated. The area just above Australia proves that. Although mankind is trying to reduce the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, the plants need this for food. Plants need carbon dioxide and sunshine to make oxygen. Without oxygen, we have a problem as human beings. As we can see, plants do very well when the carbon dioxide level increases. In previous years, they've enjoyed up to 6,000 parts per million. More CO2 will be benefit to the agriculture. As you can see on the left, a glaciation at 150 parts per million, the plants are starving to death. Decisions on the climate are being based on mathematical models. The only problem is they have nothing to do with reality. And of the 100 of them, none of them match reality. And why? Well, climate models don't work. And CO2 is not a pollutant. And without it, we will not be able to survive on the Earth because CO2 makes oxygen. So let's think about our forests. And if we're interested in saving the forests, as well as ourselves, listen on. Carbon dioxide is the food for all living vegetation. No carbon dioxide, there will be no plants. If it falls below 150 parts per million, all plant life will die. Why are we trying to kill off all of the plants? The Earth enjoyed carbon dioxide levels of 6,000 parts per million for millions of years. 10,000 parts per million of carbon dioxide has no health risks whatever to mankind. So, bluntly put, no carbon dioxide, no oxygen. No oxygen, no mankind. How can we be the architect of our own self-destruction through stupidity? The bogus climate crisis is not about saving the Earth for mankind. It is not about saving the Earth. It is about the few exploiting the many, that's us, to get wealthy. This is about the science that you know to be true from your herding behavior, listening to everyone else, that, well, can't be said other than this just ain't so. This is an economically driven scam. It is designed to make a few people very, very rich. It has nothing to do with saving our planet. It is time that people realize this. We all remember the book and the movie, An Inconvenient Truth. But in reality, the inconvenient truth is that there is no truth to the climate crisis scandal. It is for those who wish to exploit mankind. There is no climate change caused by mankind. The data supports this. Stop this lie. It is making the greedy even richer. This is not science, this is economics.